She just came off tour with Blake Shelton, and she's headed out on her holiday tour. We're catching up with Martina McBride next. This episode of Connected with Kelly is sponsored by Pickers Vodka, proudly made in Nashville, Tennessee. So Pickers is a tribute to the musicians whose sounds fill the air in Music City. Pickers Vodka is distilled 11 times from non-GMO corn, and it's gluten-free. My new favorite is the Pickers Unplugged Vodka Soda. They're in cans. They are only 96 calories, 0 carbs, great flavors. You need to give them a try. Visit pickersvodka.com to find out more or to order online. Hey, y'all. Welcome to this episode of Connected with Kelly. Martina McBride. Holy cow. 30 years in the business. Incredible songs. You know all of them. She has a greatest hits album out now on vinyl. She has a Christmas album out on vinyl. She's out on tour. There's so much to talk about. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's get connected with Martina McBride. It is so fun to see you. You have been busy. You've been out on the tour with Blake. You're starting your holiday tour. Do you get a little bit of a time off in between, or you're just hitting the ground running?
Between the Blake tour and my holiday tour, we have a couple of weeks, but we do rehearsals. But we get a little bit of a break, but not much. It's been pretty full speed ahead since about July. So,
this is an interesting thing. We were talking about this before we got started. There's no slow re-entry into life. We had a good run of a year and a half, basically, where we're just kind of floating through. And I know I started doing yoga. I was like, I'm going to bake more. What were you doing with your extra time?
Yeah, I did a lot of cooking, a lot of gardening. I had a huge garden. And so I really got into that. I've always had a garden, but I've always been touring in the summer. So last year, I really got the chance to dive in, learned a lot. And yet just being, my girls, all 3 girls were home at one point and we were all under one roof again, which was really nice. And so, just kind of taking it easy.
And then boom, we're all back at it.
Right back at it.
Let's talk about the Blake tour a little bit. Just seeing it, it looked like you guys were having so much fun together, having all of the different people in there, people taking turns and then coming out together all on stage with you and Trace and Tracy and Blake. What was that feeling like? Because that's a different type of tour. Have you ever done something that was collaborative like that?
No, that was the first time that we'd really done anything like that. And I didn't really know what to expect, when I went out there. But he's just put together this an amazing show. I've just all of the comments that I see from fans are just like, that's the best show I've ever been to. It's just so entertaining from the get-go, to the very end. And so funny, of course, he's so funny and it's very heartfelt and it was a blast. I loved it.
And now we're moving into the holiday tour. What is it about singing Christmas songs that really strikes a chord with you? Because I think there's a special place in all of our hearts for a holiday. Some people, it might be, Thanksgiving, or maybe it's Valentine's Day. Christmas has always been mine. What was special memory for you about Christmas that makes you love Christmas music?
Yeah, I just think it just has so many memories attached to it. And the music, it's the only time of year. Like we don't really have Thanksgiving music or,
right.
It's just the whole world kind of transforms in the way that it looks. You decorate your whole house. You have all these traditions, and then there's this music that we really only listen to this one time of year. So I think there's such a strong connection with all of those memories in this music. And so when I sing it, it brings back all of the good memories of growing up. We always had I grew up on a farm in Kansas, and so my grandparents lived a mile down the road, so they would come, and on Christmas morning we'd open our presents and then have a big meal. And that's really the same thing we do now with my girls. We've none of them are married yet, so they're still able to be at our house for Christmas morning, and it's just a magical time.
I absolutely agree. What is the go-to breakfast food for Christmas for you? Because I'm still looking for the right answer. I have everybody in my house under one roof, and I'm like, if I could come up with the perfect casserole, or if somebody could just give me something that would take the pressure off for the morning, that would help my whole day.
Yeah, I like to do casserole. I like to do a breakfast casserole that I can
Okay.
make the night before and put it in the refrigerator and then stick it in the oven while we're opening presents, and then it's ready. Um, I think that makes it really easy. I just really started doing breakfast as a tradition only about 4 or 5 years ago. We really just kind of fended for ourselves for a long time. And then I was like, it'd be nice to sit down, to a nice breakfast. So yeah, breakfast casseroles the way to go.
I
Time
need
saver.
I need that one. I need to find that one. Yeah, mine is usually like, "Hey guys, you're on your own. I'm making everything for dinner, so good luck. Here's some breakfast bars or some donuts and and we'll get back at it." When I was looking through all of this, I realized and I couldn't believe it. It took me a minute, but it's been 30 years that you've been in the business. 30 years since you signed your first record contract. And I would love to know the feeling that you had when you were signing that first contract. Do you remember where you were and what that was like? Was it a huge deal at the time, or was it something you signed and then later on you realized, "Oh wow, that was momentous?"
No, it was a huge deal. And I had pictures, somebody took pictures of me signing the contract. It was me and my husband, John, and probably in our lawyer's office or something. And it was momentous because it's what I dreamed of since I was a little girl. I always wanted a record deal, and that was like the end goal. And big, big, big dreams for this tiny little girl from Nowheresville, Kansas. So my parents always said, know, somebody's going to make it. Like it could be you just as much as the next person if you get in the right place at the right time and you work hard enough and get a lucky break. And so all those things happened, and it was definitely, you know, kind of the culmination of all of my dreams up to that point.
Who are you looking at and modeling yourself after? Because I do believe now, and you have 3 girls, I have a daughter. I now realize how important it is for her to see people doing something to let her know, look, it can be done. So who were you looking at the time saying, okay, if she can do it, I think I can do it too?
Probably Reba was the one that I really looked at, as far as I just thought that she, for some reason, I thought she was a good businesswoman, which she is, but I don't know how I knew that at the point. But just the way she carried herself, and um, I don't know, she was just kind of the pinnacle of
Mhm.
of what I wanted to be, and kind of the one that showed me it could be done. Linda Ronstadt, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
a teenager, I looked up to her a lot just for her choice of music, and she was out touring with the band, and I don't know, it just seemed so rock and roll and so cool. So those two probably the most.
It's been interesting to look at the development of so many new female singers that are coming onto the stage and watching them from when they release that first song to their second album to their third album, and you watch them grow. At what point do you feel like you found your sound? Do you remember, was there a song or an album where you locked into it and you were like, that's what I want everything to sound like from here on out? I want to be more of that.
Yeah, it kind of evolved. I feel like, excuse me, when I made my first record, there was that kind of neo-traditionalist movement. I was listening to Patti Loveless and Highway 101 and all of those really kind of traditional singers. And so I made that first record in that vein. And then with the second record, I kind of went in a little more I found My Baby Loves Me, for example, which kind of set the tone for that whole record. Evolution, we named Evolution because my producer at the time, Paul Worley, said, this feels like an evolution to me. Like it feels like your sound is kind of becoming your own and growing up. And then with Emotion, I was really influenced by Little Fair. I was out on Little Fair and all those kind of indie acts and that kind of sound I brought into that record. So it was really always kind of evolving, I think.
And I think too, it's always fun to pinpoint at a certain moment where you felt super confident in what your voice was saying. Not just your voice in singing, but your voice and what your opinion was on songs. How long did it take into your career before you knew I have to vocalize, I don't like this, I don't like the way that sounds, and you become more vocal and more confident in what your opinion was?
I think it was a second record. I remember asking if I could be listed as a producer on that record because, and my producers at the time were like, yeah, well, you have to, put in the time and the work and have idea. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, you do all of that. So sure, you can have a co-production credit. It was like, I was always really involved in everything, very hands-on. Of course, at first, nobody really tells you that you can be, but
Right.
with my second album and a little bit of success, actually I didn't have that much success with up to that point, but I don't know, I was just always really hands-on, and I felt that it was important that it was authentic and it was really me. And so whatever image you saw in the video, I can remember someone saying, we want you to not wear your wedding ring in this video. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Of course I'm going to wear my wedding ring, or at the beginning it was like, maybe you need to change your name because there's somebody else that sounds a little bit. I'm like, I'm not changing my name. So I was always kind of really opinionated about things. And that's advice that I would give to a young artist, is to really be involved in those creative decisions and just knowing who you are. And because I feel like that's one of the secrets to longevity is, standing here 30 years later is because everything that I did and when I, like you said, got confident in what I wanted to say with my music and how I wanted to present myself was very much me, and it was nobody else's idea, or I didn't ever feel like I was trying to be swayed to be something that I wasn't, or I fought against it anyway. So, that's important. I think that when people see me, they go, that's who she is. And people can feel that.
When you're looking at your greatest hits, which now on vinyl, thank you very much. That's amazing. Is there a song that at first pass, either it was pitched to you and you heard it, or you recorded it and you thought, eh, it wasn't my favorite, and now come back around, it took a couple more passes or you changed it a little bit and it has grown to become one of your favorites?
Well, I always loved This One's for the Girls. I always thought it was really a great song. That it's, the hardest part about finding material is up-tempo songs with something to say that have some meat,
Right.
So I always looked for those up-tempos that weren't just fluffy, that really had kind of a point of view. And I love that song when I recorded it, but over the years, it's become live, even one of my favorites, because everybody reacts to it. And so it just gives the show a lift. Everybody sings along, the guys, the women, all age groups. And so that one has really grown to be a favorite of mine.
Yeah, when you name the ages, I can imagine from stage, you looking out and seeing the 23-year-olds, everybody's raising their hands, the young girls are raising their hands, and then I'm like, yeah, everybody identifies with that. So it's an incredible, incredible song. You mentioned that you wanted all of your songs to have something to them, and you have so many songs that deal with some really heavy issues, from child abuse to domestic abuse and so on. Was that always, obviously you said you wanted your music to say something. Was that always the case if you were looking at these songs and wanting it to be a part of your catalog, that you wanted to touch on certain things that you wouldn't talk about with somebody? Like you wouldn't have a polite conversation about it, but hearing it in a song, it's different.
I never really set out to record any particular message or anything like that. Those are songs like Independence Day, Broken Wing, Concrete Angel, Love's the Only House. They just moved me. I heard them. I didn't go looking for them. They came to me. I always feel like they were kind of sent to me for a reason, to kind of like I was meant to be that conduit that song flowed through to the world, and they really found me, and I just couldn't not record them. Like I just was like, I heard Independence Day and never did I think I want to record a song about domestic violence. I mean, that wasn't in my mind at all, but I heard that song and said, that's my song. I want to record that song because I feel like it's so well done. It's so well written. And I feel like somebody out there needs to hear it. It's going to make a difference in somebody's life. And so that was the motivation behind all of those songs and me recording them.
With that song in particular, a publication that I work for, Holler.Country, just released 50 of the best songs from the 90s, and Independence Day was voted as the #1 best song from the 90s. So a lot of people agree with you. Absolutely. What was some of the feedback from that? And did you Did anybody try to talk you out of it? Was there any pushback to that? Because I could totally picture a producer somewhere along the line going, do you want to go there?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
I never had any pushback from my record company. You know, Joe Galante was the head of the record time, and I have to give him credit. He was very, very always for whatever, you know, songs I wanted to record, and never ever tried to steer me away from any of those serious songs. And Paul was my producer, Paul Worley. He brought me the song. So no, it was interesting. You know, as I look back on it now, and I think that I got away with a lot, you know, and having those songs on country radio. I mean, Independence Day, it was a bit of a fight to get played on the radio. But I don't know. I just always felt such a conviction and such a passion for the songs that I chose to record. And so I was able to stand up for them and stand behind them and you know, really defend them passionately and just believed in them, you know. And I think that comes through in when you know, when you see an artist that's really convicted in what they are singing about. And so I never really got a lot of pushback from anybody, you know, on the executive side about the music that I made, which was great.
Did it change you or your personality when you had these songs that have come out? Because I think about an actor stepping on stage and portraying a certain character, and I can't help but wonder if they take a little piece of that character with them. And I wonder if it's the same for you. Do you take a little piece of who you're singing about and you become that character for that 3 minutes and 30 seconds or however long? Does that stay with you or does it change you a little bit?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, you know, I always felt once I started getting letters about Independence Day, sorry to keep going back to that song, but that was just such a life-changing moment for me, personally as well as career-wise, obviously. But when I started getting letters from women who were really thanking me for recording the song, it was like, wow, this music is powerful. I mean, what I'm doing here, it's not brain surgery, but it does make a difference to people, right? And so I think, like I said, you just have this kind of I don't know the word for it, like not a responsibility, but I just felt, I've always, you know, when you look back on the songs that I've recorded, a lot of songs I've recorded that tell someone else's story, right?
Right.
Sometimes I feel like I record songs for someone to hear, like it's going to make them feel less alone, or it's going to make them feel understood, or, you know, that's the power of music. So yeah, you carry that with you, and definitely.
Yeah, I wondered. And let's talk more about going out on the holiday tour. What is it like? What can we expect? What is the stage setup like? Because that would be probably the most fun part for me is like, I want to know what all of the Christmas is going to be like on stage with you.
Yeah, well, we just try to make it as festive as possible. We have some Christmas trees, you know, in the background. I add some players. I add some horn players and some string players, background singers. So it's a bigger band. And, you know, we're trying to figure out this year how to do costume changes. Usually I have like 7 costume changes. This year we're changing the show a little bit, but I'm still going to try to work those in because that's a lot of fun for me and for the audience, I think so.
Of course. That's why we're there. We're like, oh, she changed again. We're so excited. So, in knowing that you love Christmas like I do, how early is too early to decorate your house?
You know, I am kind of a traditionalist when it comes to that. So like, I am kind of like, let's get through each holiday and give them their due, right? So I really don't decorate till after Thanksgiving. Okay. But with the holiday tour, our first show is the day after Thanksgiving. So you know, a couple of years ago, I did the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade in New York and flew home from New York, got home at like on Thanksgiving Day, got home at like 2 p.m., made a huge Thanksgiving dinner, and we decorated our Christmas tree. And then I got on the bus and went out and started our Christmas tour. And I'm like, what kind of crazy person am I? Like, no. But you just do it when you can, I guess.
Busiest day ever. Now that you have it out on vinyl, now that you have White Christmas on vinyl, and that's exclusive at Walmart, so people can go get that. What is it about vinyl that you love? Do you have a big vinyl collection?
I do. And I have a vinyl record player in my kitchen. You know, it's what I grew up with. It's the music that it's how I consumed music as a kid. And I remember saving up money and going down to the local Ben Franklin, which had a tiny little record, section, and just flipping through and waiting for the new Eagles record to come out, and going in there and paying my own money and taking it home and just consuming it, like just looking at all the liner notes and the pictures and putting it on the player and setting the needle on and then sitting there and listening and then turning it over and listening. It's just like it's a whole ritual kind of thing. So it's fun for me to have this music out on vinyl finally, the Christmas album and the greatest hits, because I don't know, it just feels like it feels real, No. When I was holding those records in my hand, I was thinking, I want to have a record of my own. And so by the time I got to RCA, of course, CDs were the thing, vinyl was out. So finally, to have my work, kind of presented in this format, in this way, is really cool. I'm excited.
What's your favorite throwback song to listen to on vinyl?
I love the Eagles' Greatest Hits. That was the first real record that I bought of my own, or I got it for Christmas, actually. All of the Linda Ronstadt records on vinyl. We love ELO. Just old Pat Benatar records, like all of those. And then I have a lot of George Jones records and Waylon Jennings records and George Strait records and Reba, all of those things that I grew up with.
If I was going to play you one Linda Ronstadt song, which one would you choose?
Ooh, that's hard because, she recorded so much great music, but I'm trying to think of the name of it. There's a ballad that I love of hers on a record that's kind of an album cut, but I think it just encompasses like her choice of, big songs and the Lose Again, I think it's the name of it. So that would be like an obscure kind of Linda Ronstadt album cut.
I love that you went so deep cut on me. That's amazing. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to look that one up. This is one of those times where I feel like you are in this amazing point of your life. So many people are looking to you. As you said, you were looking at Reba and you were looking at Linda and that they influenced you. And there are so many people that are coming into music now that they're like, oh my gosh, well, I just wanted to be Martina McBride. What does that feel like for you? What does it feel like to have this beautiful exhibit in the Country Music Hall of Fame, which is amazing, and know that there are little girls that are 6 and 7 that are going to walk through there and they're going to see that they can do it too?
It's really an honor. It's, there's an interesting transition that happens between being in the middle of hit records and the whole like circus basically of it, and all of that, all of what it takes to make that happen. And then to be a little bit on the other side of it and still be able to make music and still have people show up to hear you sing, but you've done it, and it takes a minute to kind of adjust to that. And once I think any artist would tell you the same thing. Like, I think if you talk to anybody, they would say, yeah, there was that minute where it was like, oh, I'm moving into a different phase of my career. And once you get comfortable with that, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful because, it's an acceptance. It's like you can really look back on what you've done and appreciate it and all the people that made it happen for you and with you. And you just kind of, it's a proud kind of thing, not pride in like an egotistical way, but just, wow, I did all of that. And it's so cool. And then to have, like you said, the Country Music Hall of Fame exhibit is just like the icing on the cake. Like that's kind of a bucket list thing for me. I've always thought if I could just have an exhibit in the Hall of Fame, that'd be pretty cool. So, when all of those things start to happen for you on, like I said, like in this new space and you really embrace it, it's a beautiful thing. I wouldn't trade this phase of my career for anything, and nor would I trade, what I've done so far. It's like, it's just it's a dream come true. I mean, not many people get to live this life, and I'm so grateful.
I need to know who kept all of those things. Was that mom that had all of the wonderful things that are in the Country Music Hall of Fame exhibit? Okay, because my parents, I can honestly say this and they know this. They're hoarders in a certain sense of the word. You know, I think a lot of people in the Midwest, they're from Indiana. They got barns. We put all of our stuff in the barns and it just sits there. So, where was all of this stuff kept?
Well, my mom kept a lot of it. I kept, a lot of the stage costumes, obviously, and things like that. But she kept a lot of things when I was a kid, and she sent me a big box of stuff. She just started cleaning out and like sending things to me, and but I would go home and there's like the rocking horse that it's in the Hall of Fame exhibit that I had when I was a kid, and she'd be like, "You want to take that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And it's weird. It's like in the back of my mind somewhere, I thought, yeah, I want this because I might be able to put it in the Hall of Fame someday. Isn't that weird how you think that way? Like I'm going to admit it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to visualize dreams and big ideas for them to really come true. And so I thought, yeah, I'm going to save that because someday I might want to put it in the Hall of Fame. And so like, that's the reason why I really saved all of that stuff. And now to see it come to fruition is really a cool thing.
How many things that were on your dream board have come true?
Oh, a lot, most of them. I mean, I feel like pretty much so far everything. And it's interesting because I think you have to, there has to be something. I think if you talk to anybody that has a dream come true, no matter what walk of life or what kind of dream it is, they know, in there somewhere that it can happen for you if you work hard and if you go for it. You have to go for it. And in order to go for it, you have to believe it. You have to believe that it can happen, right? So yeah, ever since I was 7 years old, I sat in front of the CMA Awards every year with my family and thought to myself, maybe, someday I could walk up on that stage, walk up those steps, hear my name called, walk up the steps, have an acceptance speech. And it happened. And it's like, I remember that moment. It was 1999. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'd been out for 7 years at that point, and just, I don't know. That was a magical moment. And like I said, I'm so lucky and so blessed.
Oh my gosh. And you're coming up on 26 years as an Opry member in November. So add that cherry on top of this beautiful cake that you've already baked. And you also have cookbooks. So we'll throw that out there too.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I mean, cooking is a passion of mine too. And so in life, not everybody gets to have more than one kind of career path. So, the fact that I get to share my passion for cooking with everybody is awesome too.
Man, I love talking to you. Thank you so much.
Uplifting, like I'm going to go into the rest of the day going, oh, I feel so good about everything.
Good. Then my work here is done. Congrats on everything. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to see you too.
Oh, I love that lady so much, guys. The double album of her greatest hits is now available on vinyl. And if you want to go get her new vinyl release of White Christmas, you can pick that up at Walmart. The tour is going all the way through until Christmas. So look on her website, see if she's coming to a city near you, and you can get a taste of Martina McBride live on stage just in time for Christmas. Your favorite Martina song, put it below. While you're down there, make sure that you subscribe and you hit that bell, and that way you will be notified when we drop new episodes each and every week. Until then, stay connected with all the people and things you love the most. Bye.